Hello, you're watching Dukascopy TV. I'm Ben Jones bringing you the weekly wrap-up. Joining me on the line to discuss the key events of this week is Luca Cazzulani from Unicredit. To begin with, Luca, on Tuesday we saw that Britain's inflation rate dropped to its lowest for nearly a year. What do you think has caused this and what does this mean for their economy?
Actually, slowing down in inflation is becoming a very common topic. We had this slowing in inflation also in the UK. Now, the slowing down in the UK is mainly attributable to two factors. One is the reduction in energy prices, and the other one is a technical reduction in the component of education in the UK. So both factors have contributed in a roughly equal way to the slowing down in inflation. Particularly, the second one is a temporary factor which is going to disappear through time. So it's in the case of inflation, we should be careful in pointing out the slowing down in the price dynamics to a slack in the economic activity, which has been a pretty common topic over the recent weeks, particularly after the Eurozone also recorded a very tame level of inflation.
Now, the Eurozone have seen a distinctive fall in their GDP data for the third quarter, with Germany having a slowdown and the French economy has actually contracted. What does this mean for the Eurozone going forward?
With respect to the GDP readings we had this week, we point out that most of the slowing down should be attributed to technical one-off factors. This is particularly the case, for example, of France, which actually recorded a negative number for Q3 GDP, but this is entirely due to the drop of one-off components which had boosted the level of growth in Q2 and were just not there anymore. So we regard the slowing down in quarter-on-quarter GDP this week as a technical induced reading, and we maintain our view that growth momentum will resume in the Eurozone in the next quarter. And we actually expect growth in the Eurozone to be around 1% over the course of next year.
We also had the Fed chair nominee Janet Yellen speaking yesterday. What are the key factors that people should take from what she said?
Well, this was a very awaited speech. I think the key takeaway is that she has reassured markets about two things. First, the Fed will be careful not to remove the accommodative policy until there are signs that the growth momentum in the U.S. remains fragile. So she has sent dovish remarks through the market. And I think this means two things. First is that the tapering already in December now doesn't look a really likely outcome. And second, and most important, given that tapering and when the Fed will announce tapering has become a very key topic for discussion in markets, she has reassured markets about the fact that the Fed will try to be smooth on this particular aspect. I think this has been seen by market reaction. For example, equities have been well supported, and also the long end of the U.S. curve has remained supported as well, particularly after the testimony by Janet Yellen.
And looking into next week, what do you see as the key events for Dukascopy TV viewers to keep an eye on?
Yeah, next week we have a very busy data calendar for the Eurozone. We will have key data releases. I think the most important ones will be the Eurozone PMIs, preliminary reading for November, which will be an important piece of the puzzle for assessing the strength of the Eurozone recovering. I was pointing out before that we do expect the Q3 slowing down in GDP growth to be temporary. Now, actually, sentiment indicators have already started to recover, and I think next week PMIs will be the most important economic release in the Eurozone to look at. The data calendar will be more light in the US, where probably the key release will be the inflation. And here also we expect a slowing down in inflation, particularly in the headline, which could record a level below 1%, so probably a slowing down, whereas the core inflation is likely to have remained more sustained. These are, I think, the most important events to watch during the course of next week.
Thank you for joining me today, Luca. That is all from me for this week, but make sure you tune into Dukascopy TV next week for even more updates and exclusive interviews. Goodbye.